Horizon Forbidden West is a massive, sprawling world that you can find tons and tons of interesting things in. And some of it goes well beyond the normal mystery. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 7 Easter eggs and secrets in Horizon Forbidden West. Starting off with number 7, Kratos' hut from the God of War reboot. Now this one is a lot of fun because you probably wouldn't expect to see this kind of a reference in this game. These are different developers, different types of games, very different lineages, but in the northwestern section of the map, you can find a suspiciously familiar looking axe stuck to the side of a tree. Now, it's not an exact match, but it looks a lot like the Leviathan axe from God of War. Now that might seem like a cool reference in of itself, but if you scan it, it actually reveals a trail that you can follow. So if you do that, it leads you up the side of a mountain to a lonely little abandoned shack in the middle of the woods. It's not in the best shape, but look at it. It's obviously Kratos' little shack from the opening of the game. Now, if you're still saying like, nah, that's not it, it's just a big coincidence, there's a little souvenir that you can collect there. It's a little carved statue of Kratos himself called a war totem. Now, it's obviously a lot of fun because it's Kratos, but it's not the only war totem you can find. There are a lot more of them, and we're going to detail some in the next point. So at number 6, the other war totems. So there's actually 2 more of these war totems out there. One looks like Brock and Sindri, the squabbling dwarf brothers, and another that's Atreus, Kratos' son. So the one with the dwarves on it is called the Totem of Brotherhood, and it's probably the one that most players are going to find first. It's located in the southern part of No Man's Land, and again involves a little trail you can follow. This time you'll find a wide maw with a hammer stuck in it, and that takes you to the resting place of the associated war totem. The third and final totem is found pretty far west, which, given the title of the game, sounds as though it may be forbidden to get, but once you find a spot with training targets that have arrows stuck in them, you basically do the same thing that you found the other 2 with, and it gives you a trail, which takes you to the Atreus artifact. If you collect all 3 of these war totems, you unlock the Mark of War face paint, which, no surprise, is white with a red mark through the eye. So basically, if you want to give Aloy a little bit more of an old school Kratos energy, this is a pretty simple Easter egg, and it's a good way to do it. At number 5, the Ghost of Tsushima Easter egg. There's another hidden Easter egg far to the west on an island overlooking the Bay Area, and it's possible to come across this unique little event where Aloy will sit down on a mat, read a note, and as it turns out, it memorializes somebody while gentle music plays. It's very similar to the meditation points in Ghost of Tsushima, another PlayStation exclusive game, and it includes a lot of the little hallmarks from those events. The time of day changes, there's a prayer mat, there's majestic visuals, you can stay as long as you want. It's just like in Ghost of Tsushima. We actually do know who's being memorialized here. It says in the credits, in loving memory of Patrick Munich, who was Guerrilla Games' lead producer for 8 years before he passed away in 2019 at the age of 44 years old. That is way too young to go. Munich had been with Guerrilla since 2011 when he originally got the job working on some Killzone DLC. They obviously really liked the work because they had him serve as producer on both Killzone Shadowfall and on the first Horizon game, Zero Dawn. Now I'm sure there'll be a lot of fans who don't even notice that happened and just think it's a tribute to Ghost of Tsushima, but no, there is purpose behind this one. It's just a sad thing that happened a couple of years ago, and a team of people that really liked this guy wanted to memorialize him.
Here we remember our friend, with a view as calming as his voice, on stone as strong as his spirit. He was not just our rock, he was our oak, sturdy and stoic.
And number 4 is a Killzone gun, which before Horizon, Guerrilla Games' big claim to fame was Killzone. So it should come as no surprise that there would be at least one reference to that series hidden somewhere in here. This one appears fairly early, actually, inside the secure banker during the Death's Door main quest mission. Right after getting the igniter and clearing out the red crystals, you enter the security corridor with a guard station right next to it. If you look inside, you'll see something familiar. The LSR-44 Spore, the main guy's gun from Killzone Shadowfall. all. What really gives it away are the diagonal lines running up the side of the barrel. It looks pretty much identical. It might even be the same model, honestly. Or if not, similar to or maybe built out of the original. It was kind of the main gun in that game, during the campaign at least. Like, you couldn't even unequip it, but it was a pretty good all-around weapon, so it wasn't bad to stick with it. There are some helmets on a rack above the guns too, but they don't really look familiar to me. Looking through the various helmets in the Killzone series, this looks new, or at least heavily modified. Still, the gun itself's a pretty cool callback, even if it is for a game that's sort of the black sheep of the Killzone franchise. And number 3 is the Sword in the Stone. Kind of a goofy little secret. North of the Utaru village of Plainsong, you can find this random rock with a sword stuck in it. It's clearly a reference to the Sword in the Stone myth, which was how pulling a sword from a stone would prove somebody was the true king of England. It's the sword that made King Arthur king, basically, at least if you're going by the Disney version. It's not just a thing that's there for show either. Aloy will say something when you see it, saying it reminds her of a story from an ancient data point. While it would be awesome to be able to pull this thing out and use it like in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, that is not what it's meant to be, and Aloy admits she doesn't think she can pull it out. So yeah, that's really all it is. It's a sword stuck in a stone. You can see it. It's got some nice little dialogue, and maybe kind of adds to the mystique of the world. Otherwise, it really wouldn't be a lot to talk about here. But it's worth talking about something that's cool, simply because it's cool. And number 2, there's actually real-world locations in this game. One thing that's easy to forget about the Horizon games is that they take place in the future of our planet, and places you're traveling through are or were actual locations in the United States. The first game, Zero Dawn, had its fair share of landmarks, but they're mostly natural ones. With the game being set in the states of Utah, Wyoming, and Colorado primarily, there's not really a lot out there but national parks, which is, to be fair, a lot of very beautiful terrain. But in Forbidden West, we end up seeing a lot more ruins and signs of leftover civilization, which gives the game a lot more opportunities to put in ancient and ruined versions of some famous landmarks from the present, starting with the biggest ones like the Golden Gate Bridge and the Palace of Fine Art in San Francisco. Both of these famous locations appear, though the palace is sunk underwater in the world of Horizon. Its distinct dome, however, is still very visible and intact. The Golden Gate Bridge is definitely worse for wear, but if there's any landmark in this game people will recognize, it's that one. There's even more San Fran landmarks to find, like Oracle Park, Telegraph Hill, Lombard Street, the Transamerica Pyramid, and the Sutro Tower, and that's not even everything. They even included a small remnant of Alcatraz Island. Like, all you can see is the top of the Alcatraz lighthouse, but it's definitely in the right spot. On top of all the San Francisco landmarks to find, there's actually a lot of Las Vegas locations in the game as well. You can find the remains of the High Roller Ferris wheel, the Stratosphere, the remains of Bellagio, and the big Paris balloon sign. One of the coolest recreations actually is the Forum Shops at Caesar's Palace, an entire Roman-themed mall that is accurately recreated, and one of the few structures that's mostly intact and you can actually go inside, which is pretty damn impressive. That's not all of the real-world locations that show up in this game, obviously. I forgot to mention the Hoover Dam, which is another pretty big one, but if you see a place that's suspiciously detailed, it's probably something in the real world that you're meant to find and think, oh wow, this is what it would look like if today's world was in ruin. And at number 1, there is Gildan's Note, a kind of minor little Easter egg that's a cute callback to the Frozen Wilds DLC from Horizon Zero Dawn. If you take the side quest, The Burning Blooms, to help out Aloy's friend Talana, you can find this little note left near the collapsed tunnel that you find after dealing with the Shell Snapper that Aloy will actually comment on. The note, called A Damn Shame, talks about how they went on a dam-busting delve, but apparently were unable. It probably doesn't seem like much at first glance, but it's actually a note written by the character Gildan, a guy you meet in the Waterlog quest in the Frozen Wilds expansion. He's a minor but a pretty memorable character, so it's fun to see a callback for him here. But probably the most curious thing about this note is where he plans on going next. Having given up on going west, he resolves to travel south to a place called the Burning Shores. So what we first find Gildan in the Frozen Wilds is in the north, and now he's going to a place called the Burning Shores in the south. Is this a clue to a possible DLC location, or is it just a little joke? I don't know. Could go either way. why, but for now, we don't know. Also got some bonus for you here. The mysterious numbers is specifically what I want to talk about. The numbers, I'm not going to read them all out. That'd be very boring. But they're along the lines of like 12, 7, 25, 11, 65, 1, 51, 11, 1, like combinations of numbers. There's a lot of them, by the way. You're welcome for not reading them out loud. The final entry is a bit of a cheat, though, because it's really only half Easter egg. But we've hit a brick wall here, and there's really not a lot of information about this online as far as we can tell. Over by the tunnel where a Gildan's note is found, if you follow the road, you can find this strange scroll left on a random car. On it have a bunch of numbers that are arranged in a sequence, and the note itself is simply called the mysterious numbers. Looking at the note, it's obvious that it's supposed to be some kind of cipher. Each number is probably a letter, and the slash separates the numbers while the dash separates words. So it's probably some kind of sentence, but it's definitely not an A1Z26 cipher, as the numbers go a lot higher than 26, and the formatting is different from most numerical ciphers we know about. We're hardly experts on this type of stuff, though. I'm sure there's probably some ARG-obsessed people who can solve this one in a second, but for now, we are clueless on it. If you find anything, leave it in the comments. In fact, that's all for today, so if you enjoyed this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is a course of subscriptions, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications, and as always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.